We have officially made the journey on over to North America, and what a matchup to start off this weekend. We've got Tiburones up against the Herculean Hoofs. And Mifflin, this is a matchup that I think is highly anticipated. We figured Pandemonium versus Accounting Department would be a lot of fun to watch. I think Tiburones versus Hoofs carries some same weight.
And for the fans at home who aren't super familiar with the team names, if you remember Baskin and the boys back from last season.
I do.
Yeah, that's Herculean Hoofs. And with this Tiburones squad, I think it's like Attack of the Sharks or something like that. That's Heed, Cope Baby, Spreen, Guy J, and Blugan holding it up for this team. This is going to be a very contentious set, I think. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, the Herculean Hoofs, this is a team that took a little time to kind of wind up into things, but have now gotten their hooves under them, so to speak, and nice. I expect bringing the pace with them. If this is what happens when you and I are together all day, we go a little chaotic. Sturdy Artisans versus Winter Dogs. You can see here on the schedule was a forfeit. We had some internet issues in that one. So the Winter Dogs able to get a win. But we'll see in the bracket here in just a minute. The Sturdy Artisans, of course, not out of it just yet. So Tiburones versus Herculean Hooves. They already know who their opponent in the next round of this one could be if they're able to win it. And that Winter Dogs team really started to bring it in Phase 1 of the SCC as well. So a lot on the line to keep yourself in that winner's bracket. Winter Dogs, I wonder if that's an advantage or a disadvantage. I kind of want to sink into that in just a minute. So Sturdy Artisans drop down to the loser's bracket, so not out of the tournament just yet. Unfortunate forfeit here this morning on their side, but they still have a chance to make their way through to the loser's bracket in onto the finals later on here this weekend. But let's talk a little bit about this matchup here, Mifflin. Tiburones versus the Herculean Hooves. Tiburones, Heed, Cope, Spreen, Guy J, and Blugan, as you pointed out. Feels like as of late this team has been anchored by that duo lane. Guy J playing so well. Blugan as well right alongside him.
Yeah, there's a reason Guy J had a brief stint inside the SPL, and it's because he is that level of talent out of this lane. And here in Season 8, no lane more so important than the duo lane. If you're able to find pressure there, you get purple buff invades, red buff invades consistently. What's the neutral objective you fight over most often in Smite? It's Gold Fury, closer to the duo lane. That's how important this role is here in Season 8. And can't really do much better than Guy J and Blugan together. I'm very excited to see how they decide to play this lane, though. Occasionally, we'll see Guy J play a little bit more late-game slanted gods, maybe play it a little bit more passively in lane, and then try to utilize his presence inside the team fight. I think here in Season 8, he'd be more so benefited by a more aggressive style.
You know what? I wonder if – I'm trying to remember the history of E United last year, because it was Guy J who was playing Hunter, and then Snoopy swapped over to replace him, right? I'm trying to remember.
Snoopy went to support.
Snoopy went to support.
And then he went back to Hunter.
And then he went back to Hunter.
And booted Guy J.
Well, Guy J's playing up against Snoopy here. I wonder if there's a little extra in this matchup between those two out of that Hunter lane. But look, we highlighted a couple of the other guys on the Tiburones there towards the end. The entire roster has really started to mesh, I think. This Tiburones team started to consistently be maybe the biggest threat here in the North American SCC, not giving sets away easily and always making things interesting. Now, their opponents, we've talked a little bit about their Hunter, and that's Snoopy here. The Herculean Hooves, absolutely a team. They had a bit of a slow start here. We almost couldn't believe it, how slow of a start they had, but then really started to dial things up. They said, all right, guys, we can't get through this on just talent alone. We've actually got to apply ourselves a little bit here. Meerkat, Mast, Baskin, Snoopy, and Gino. I don't know which way you look here, Mifflin. This is a stacked roster top to bottom.
I think you go with the OG titular player, Baskin, right? Young Wooney Kim out of the mid lane. This guy has been described as one of the best players to have ever done it. We've also can be quoted as saying, we're just lucky it's a hobby for him, or he'd make competitive look easy. This guy, he just controls the lanes. He controls aggression. He's playing however he wants, whenever he wants, whatever god he feels like doing on the week of, he absolutely performs on as well. But he is also luckily flanked by immense talent in every single one of these roles. Every single one of these guys has got some SPL tenure behind them. Every single one of them has played on the biggest stage possible. And it shows. When these guys are applying themselves, when they're playing as a team, they look nigh unstoppable.
Agreed. You know, top to bottom, a terrifying roster. I kind of want to bounce back to it, though. Snoopy versus Guy J. I think maybe the most interesting matchup here in this game between the Tiburones and the Herculean Hooves, because it feels like both players somewhat streaky. Every once in a while you'll see Snoopy just go on an absolute tear, feels unstoppable. Snoopy every once in a while will also slow down. Guy J sometimes will go on these big tear-like streaks of success, and then every once in a while will slow down. So I think should be a lot of fun to follow the matchup over there in the duo lane, specifically the Hunters here in this one. But without further ado, picks and bans for game number 1. We'll kick off right here and right now. Now, we saw all the EU meta in the SCC earlier on today. Do you imagine any of these picks start to look a little bit different over in North America?
I'm just expecting a distinct meta shift here as far as what we can expect to be prioritized and banned. Usually, the North American players kind of play a little bit more so in line with the meta that we see in the SPL. They're going to prioritize things that we're used to seeing. Raijin recently has hit a huge surge. I'm expecting him to do the exact same here at this level. I'm expecting to see plenty of King Arthurs coming through. Maybe Tiamat get some respect bans as well, which has already come through here from the Herculean Hoofs.
Smart.
It's going to be SPL meta. That's my prediction.
All right, look, it's smart. You take the Tiamat away. We've already seen Tiamat let through a couple of times today. Didn't really bode well for the opposing team. Sol was a priority point over in EU, particularly in the ban column. Saw Sol let through a couple of times. And now over here in NA, we'll get a pick here as well. And Tiburones, that's a lot of confidence you're putting into this Sol pick. Flexible, though, Mifflin. Could see that in Hunter, could see it in mid.
Could. I'm expecting it to go towards Spreen. We've seen him play it a fair bit in the past. He's very comfortable on this god, and it's going to have a decent bit of safety inside of the mid lane. Gaijay probably going to go towards one of his more signature picks, things like Rom, sometimes occasionally the Huyi as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, there's that meta we were talking about. King Arthur and Chiron have been dominating the SBL, and the Hoofs have taken notice. They take it for themselves in the top 2.
Yeah, King Arthur specifically a lack of over in the EU matches, and no mistake of it here by the Herculean Hoofs. King Arthur drafted first and foremost. Then Gilgamesh as well. Took a little while, took a couple of games. We started to see Gilgamesh a couple more times in our first set of the day. I think both teams, I mean, look, it's hard to diagnose a draft for better or for worse just through a few picks. Sol, Gilgamesh, Heimdall, feels like there's plenty of scaling already for the Tiburones.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't see something like the Fafnir come through here where that Gilgamesh does. I know Gilgamesh has been incredibly powerful out of the jungle, has great presence in the early game, but when you're already going for this double auto-attacker draft, you got to think that Fafnir would have fit in relatively well, but instead it's a little bit more so towards that safety. Sol and Heimdall together are incredibly safe picks. We get the Bifrost or the Disapparate, and you're kind of leaving the early game up to Gilgamesh as of right now.
Ratatoskr and Ymir will headline the opening 2 bans of the second ban phase here. And then Fafnir, I think a notable pick that the Tiburones were hoping would still be open for themselves in the second wave of picks will get banned away alongside the Gilgamesh over on the other side. So a little support focus from both teams with the Ratatoskr thrown in there by the Tiburones as well. Mercury is still there. This has been a Sanford Soccer special at the SPL level and has been dominated by Sanford Soccer at the SPL level. Do you think, though, only seeing now 4 picks for the Herculean Hooves and Mercury makes some sense?
I like the Mercury. It's going to bring decent pressure into that long lane. When Sanford Soccer does elect to take this pick, he'll set up between his own Tier 2 and Tier 1 on the dual lane side and say, all right, if the Hunter shows up, I'm going to hit him with my ultimate and probably just kill him. That seems to be the plan. Generally, we see him take that pick up against the Chiron, who has a little bit of a harder time dealing with it. If Heimdall is playing heads up, has his relics available, should be relatively easy for him to utilize that Bifrost and make sure he doesn't lose his life.
So we look at Gilgamesh, Tsukuyomi, and Kokulin. I've only ever, for my memory, seen Kokulin out of the solo lane. So I would then assume Suku would be out of the jungle and then Gilgamesh support. Is that your read on this draft here for the Tiburones?
That's my nearest guess, Dave. I mean, Gilgamesh has been theorized, could go into that support role.
We've read about it.
In the prophecies, on the wall scrolls. For those of you that don't know, we do have a wall, like cave drawings inside of hi-rez, and Gilgamesh solo,
that's just
or
how
support
Hindu
rather.
Man writes. It's not,
yeah, that's the script. That's actually the script. That's what it looks like. Right? It can work. Look, Winds of Shamash, great just zoning tool, can make sure that people aren't able to walk through certain areas.
Right.
Drop kick, decent single target, sometimes double target if you hit him into someone else CC. But he is going to be sacrificing a little bit of that early aggression. He's going to be sacrificing some of that damage output that we come to associate with Gilgamesh. But opening up the jungle for Tsukuyomi doesn't feel too bad.
Interesting pick in the Kabrakan to round out the draft for the Hoofs. Looking at the support matchup, Kabrakan up against what we're assuming is a Gilgamesh. Do you think Kabrakan's going to have a pretty comfortable time in that lane?
He could. He's got a decent matchup. Kabrakan's much more aggressive in the early game, very easily going to be able to group up the wave with the Tremors, make sure that the clear from Chiron comes through. I like the pick in general, and you could just utilize that wall to make sure if Mercury wants to full charge his ultimate, he doesn't go too far. Kabrakan support hasn't really been seen too often recently, but it did used to be meta back in Season 4.
They could just throw up a little life raft for the Mercury to fly up again, so we'll have to see how it works out. Game number 1, Tiburones versus the Herculean Hoofs. Casters, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Dave and Mifflin. Fuzzy wasn't here. Joined with me is Alpha. And Alpha, the desk kind of spoke about it a little bit. The picks alone just seem a little bit crazy, but the prophecy has been foretold, and it has happened. Bluegan is going to play Gilgamesh support here. And I've heard, we've heard it in the theory crafting, but I have to get it from a coaching's perspective. What is the reason behind this pick?
Well, Gilgamesh support does what pretty much every other warrior support will do, which is give you pressure in that early game, start to control this left-hand side of the map very easily. But with, like Mifflin said, the wins of Smash, very good team fight tool, very good at locking down Baskin on this Janus, good at being able to stop Snoopy as well, although that knock-up immunity on that giddy-up can be a little bit of an issue. The biggest thing is, though, that Master and Gino cannot really engage onto this Gilgamesh support. If they do so, they're going to get caught in those wins, they're going to be slowed down, they're going to be caught very out of position, just the Guy J and Spreen to be able to follow up on very easily.
Yeah, not only that, but you also have to worry about the drop kick, too, that can come out of it. And I liked how you mentioned the fact that Bluegan's going to try to just focus Baskin out, because Baskin has been known on this Giannis pick to just be squirrely and almost unable to catch. So it seems like that this entire comp is say, let's get on the person that got him here in the first place, and that's going to be Baskin.
Yeah, and they've got a very good draft to do it. They've already mentioned Bluegan on this Gilgamesh support, but Code Baby going on to this Tsukiyomi in the jungle, not the strongest pick to go into a Janus, but certainly one of the top picks. If you're going to look for the strongest pick, Susano, definitely your guy. Can follow the Janus through those portals and through space and time for a short period of time if he gets that storm onto him and it just teleports to him.
Yeah, the teleport with the Susano is definitely a great pickup, but I kind of do like Cope Baby going into the Tsukiyomi, because not only can he get onto Basket, but he can also get onto Mast, and even Snoopy in the backline while he's giddying up, he can at least get to him once the giddy up animation is done. So even though it might not necessarily be a knock-up, he can get caught out, and if you're caught out when you're playing Chiron and you don't have your cleanse on that one ability available for you and Cope Baby just stuns you, you kind of just accept your fate at that point.
Yeah, and the disarm is going to be a huge help and boon to Cope Baby if he's going to be fighting Mast and Snoopy in those 1v1s and 2v2s. Because the second that Mast goes in, you know that he's going to start swinging around that glaive, looking for that stun onto him. Just get that disarm off on that very first swing. It can immune quite a bit of damage from Mast, especially if he goes into the crit build, which I imagine he's going to lean into.
Yeah, the crit build seems to be kind of, even though that it was quote-unquote nerfed, it's still going to come out every once in a while just because of how much sheer damage that can happen. We have to talk about how Herculean Hoofs, I wouldn't say the mighty have fallen, but they definitely struggled throughout this season. And it was, as the desk pointed out, Dave said, surprising the fact of this, but the Sharks, they have looked fantastic this entire season. I believe they're the only team to actually take a win off of the Sturdy Artisans. And the Herculean Hoofs have a lot to go through, but my gosh, this team, just name-based alone and talent and the draft that they were able to comp themselves is definitely going to help them out, as Meerkat was just getting a little bit poked out there, but only an in-base going to come out for the Sharks.
Yeah, but it was been a slow season so far for the Herculean Hoofs. They started off quite poorly by their own standards. It's only very recently that they've managed to build up some momentum, build up a head of steam, and they've built it up at the perfect time going into this tournament. They're looking incredibly strong, looking, I'd say, second favorites right now. Sturdy Artisans, you cannot look past them as the favorites for this tournament as that 10-0. Even if they're now going to have to go through that losers bracket, you still just put them as the outright favorites because of their impeccable record. But still having to go up against the Sharks right now, Herculean Hoofs, just to get themselves in with a chance of getting through to the final on the winner's side.
Yeah, and I think Herculean Hoofs can do it. The Sharks, though, they're no slouches. The desk was talking about it, how they have just been dominant after dominant performance, but everybody in the sports world kind of knows that you just have to be hot at the right time. And the Herculean Hoofs are just that, as you mentioned. So it just seems that they're going to have to really focus on trying to get Baskin maybe out of position for the Sharks, try to see if they can get something there. But Meerkat actually going to get Beads out. He's going to have to dash away, but Cope Baby was around just to see if maybe he can clean up Meerkat, but has elected to go ahead and disengage.
Cope Baby was, I believe, going to ult underneath the tower there, but the second Meerkat ticks into level 5, just thinks a bit better of it, recognizes that with King Arthur being level 5, not having a spill at this point, will have enough energy for that big Excalibur's Wrath. means that he's just going to get turned on very instantly. Matt's taking a lot of damage here. Kobe with the invade should hit all 4 shots here. Don't know if it's going to be enough. It is going to be enough. Into the Phoenix he goes, and he dies to it. First blood for Cope Baby. Matt gets a return kill courtesy of the Phoenix.
Yeah, the Phoenix damage definitely helped there. That was pretty interesting, though, that that Mast was able to get that ultimate off, though, just because he got Cope Baby under the Phoenix. So it was a great little, I'm going to try my best to get there, and sure enough, he brought him over. Looks like this Gilgamesh Bluegun is around to see if he can try to get something onto Meerkat, but Meerkat is able to spot out with the ward that's over there on that left-hand side. Bluegun is around, going to go ahead and drop kit onto Meerkat. Meerkat taking a lot of damage, but not going to elect to go for this invade because it looks like Mast has come back from the grave to help out his solo lane.
Very odd that they decided to put a lot of pressure over onto this right-hand side, but if you have a look at the drafts and have a look at exactly how safe the Herculean Hoofs characters are, it will start to make a little bit more sense. Obviously, you don't want to be fighting a King Arthur early. That's where he's quite strong, especially with Bluestone, can turn around onto you quite quickly. Once he has his tank boots online, it becomes very difficult to take down. But what else do you do? Do you gank Baskin, who's just going to ultimate away and say goodbye to any forward chance of you killing him? You're going to go to Snoopy, who's got immunity thanks to the Giddy Up and can return as much damage, if not more, onto you with just 2 abilities. It's a very difficult draft for the Sharks to gank into on the Herculean Hooves, which is why I think you'll be seeing a lot more mid-game opportunities for them to look for fights, whilst in the early game, it's going to be either on Meerkat or they're looking at the objectives.
Yeah, and it's interesting too that you brought that up, that it's going to be very difficult to even collapse onto any of these onto any of the characters for the Herculean Hooves. But not Gino playing this Cabrakan, though. He can definitely give some peel, which when we think Cabrakan, we don't necessarily think of peel necessarily. We think of lots of damage coming out of the jungle, maybe one-shotting if he does build up sort of a damage thing, but instead he is going to go more into this tank build, maybe more of a bruisery build, and he can still do a lot of damage, so maybe that peel out of Not Gino might be their focus for the Sharks, but even then, you don't really want to focus a support.
Right now, with this sort of meta, you do see a lot of supports being focused, but that's only when your support has built up and upgraded Sunder early on, because of the fact that supports early on, when they get their tank boots and then they get their Gauntlet of Thebes, they're incredibly difficult to take down, but Cope Baby is going to be the mark here, and down goes the Mercurial.
Well, the walls come out for Cabrakan. The through space and time will connect on the Cope Baby. Will Cope Baby fall? He will not. He actually picks up a return kill. Bluegun will pick up one as well, but Mass will finally get pubbled, and that's Bluegun getting a double kill. So now the focus is going to be onto Baskin. He will be able to get away because he is Giannis, but a big through space and time connects. That's a 3-for-1 trade in favor of the Sharks, but it looks like not Gino. Actually, Matt, it looks like he was still trying to go for this in the rage form, but unable to pick it up. Bluegun will pick up the blue buff in response.
Cope Baby screaming worth. The fact that he survived that long as well is incredible. That just shows how difficult it can be to lock down a Tsukiyomi if he hits multiple people with his ultimate. Engage upon, still manages to pick up a kill, still manages to outlive 2 other people, almost manages to get Baskin killed in a 4-for-1, but it's just instead the 3-for-1. A great play so far by the Sharks to put themselves up over 1,000 gold 7.5 minutes into the game.
And this is what we've seen out of the Sharks time and time again. They take these little fights somewhere, and even though they're in the enemy jungle, even though they're in Herculean Hooves jungle, they're able to win these team fights consecutively. We always say Herculean Hooves are probably one of the best team fighting teams as a whole in the NA SCC, but the Sharks are right up there with them, and they're showing that maybe they should get that title now.
Sharks always dominated in sort of the teamfight areas. The times that they fell short up against the Sturdy Artisans is when Sturdy Artisans had a rather oddball draft teamfight that they just weren't prepared for, or when the Sturdy Artisans managed to find themselves with a massive lead in the early game. But no luck so far for the Herculean Hooves, down 4 kills to 2 in favor of the Sharks, and not really pulling the trigger right now, the Herculean Hooves. They're more than content sitting back, farming up. No attention has really been paid over to this left-hand side, just the one attempt at that right-hand side trying to catch Cope Baby out of position. But it can work out for them with this sort of draft game that they do have the Giannis, they have the Mercury. They're more than happy to wait for this late game.
Yeah, the late game seems to be where the Herculean Hooves want to be, so studying out the bleed just a little bit, try to put a tourniquet onto this would be the best call for them, making sure that they get some vision around the Gold Fury and any of these major objectives like the Pyromancer that'll spawn in about 1 minute and 15 seconds. Pings are coming out onto this right-hand side to see if they can look for an invade. Instead, they're going to continue to invade this King Arthur on this blue buff.
This is probably the best way you can shut down a King Arthur is just make sure you constantly take away his blue buff. But if you're going to be over on the right-hand side of the map, make sure you're warding up the left-hand side appropriately and have cover over on the Gold Fury. All this happens. Herculean Hoofs with a free objective, no contest, not even from Spreen or Gaijay, just nothing. Herculean Hoofs get a free one.
And that's exactly what you want to see out of the Herculean Hoofs, as you mentioned. They're able to get that just look at the ward vision all across the map for Herculean Hoofs. They have a ward on the top side where they're always constantly getting these invades off, and as soon as Bluegan just walked over that ward, it was kind of game over for the Sharkies to try to even contest that Gold Fury. So great pickup for Herculean Hoofs on that. Still down a little bit of gold, but they have stopped the bleeding as Spreen takes a lot of damage from Baskin.
Yeah, this is Janus at level 11 with a couple of items. It's not level 20 just yet. He'd invading, picking up the speed buff as well. Mast not happy about that. Meerkat's here as well. Mast ultimate is going to be used. He'd explodes thanks to rotation from Baskin.
That's just, again, just constant pressure on that right hand side on that speed buff. It just seems that, like, I don't know. He's there. He's trying his best to keep going with that pressure on that right hand side, but Herculean Hooves, they know how to stop that. And again, Baskin is on the team. Giannis is able to get away with anything that he wants to, including some massive amount of damage. He does have that ultimate still available. So at 10 minutes in, we were talking about how the Sharks maybe are a little bit ahead right now, but Herculean Hooves are right on their tails.
Yeah, the Gold Fury certainly has helped them claw their way back into things, but if you take away the gold that they got from that, Sharks should have been up around 2k at this point, I would say. So it's certainly not all sunshine and rainbows for the Herculean Hoofs. Mast is 3 levels down right now. Solo lane is starting to fall behind just a tiny bit. That's just because he's been able to get a lot of pressure over here onto this right-hand side. They need to start looking at somewhere on the map where they're looking strong, and that is on that left-hand side. Just start to play around it a lot more often. Get Mast over there, get ganking on Gaijay. Otherwise, Sharks are just going to run over the map like they're doing already.
Yeah, and the Sharks were able to pick up that Pyromancer in response, and you're right, it needs to be on this left-hand side a little bit because that Oni Fury might be the next contention point for both of these teams, trying to get a little bit more pressure now that the Fire Giant has officially spawned at 11 minutes in. So, AJ, I gotta say, the Herculean Hooves, they're good in responding to these team fights and responding to what's going on around the map just because of their map pressure, but when it comes to actually picking up these major objectives, it seems like they're just kind of on the back foot. So what do they need to do to try to just push that over to the edge just to stop this bleeding?
Like I said, they need to start playing around one of the lanes in their map. It looks like Spreen's going to be the target here. Mast is just jumping. Oh no, wait, no. I think Spreen's just had a little bit of internet issues. Good on Herculean Hoofs for not taking advantage of the situation there and just backing off, not going on to him, not killing him. So that's great sportsmanship. That is exactly what you like to see.
Yeah, just good sportsmanship all around, making sure that Spreen is able to reconnect back in. That's definitely what you want to see out of that, and I'm glad that they were able to do that. But as we were talking about, AJ, it just seems that like the Herculean Hoofs just are kind of playing off this objective prompt, and they can't quite seem to pick it up.
They did take away that Gold Fury very early on, but that was mainly due to the fact that there was going to be no contest coming out from them. So I would like to see them play around the duo side a little bit more. Take Mast, go over there, gank onto Gaijay a little bit more, because we haven't seen really an offensive use out of this Mercury ultimate yet.
Yeah, Mercury has been kind of playing this a little bit defensively, it seems, and that's just unfortunate for that. But maybe soon here we can start seeing a little bit more aggressively onto these team fights because we do know how big a Sonic Boom can actually impact a team fight. And not only that, but when you have magic damage out of Baskin with all that through space and time and the unstable vortex, you're talking about someone that can get deleted very quickly.
Okay.
As we are jumping into about 12 minutes into the game. Looks like right now that the Herculean Hoofs still trying to catch up a little bit on that. That's good that, Spreen wasn't able to fall right there. They were able to get him back and let him back away so that he can make sure that he stays alive in this.
Oh, over on the right-hand side, still, as you would expect, Heed, with the fact that he had that pressure early on, has got that slight level advantage. Coat Baby benefiting from that as well. No sign of Snoopy or Gaijay being involved in this game whatsoever yet. Snoopy does have an assist to his name thanks to some early game fight that happened over there, but Gaijay still sitting at that 0-0-0, and the Sharks, they're content with this, as are the Herculean Hoofs. Both of these ADCs scale well into the late game. Both of them have tremendous presence in these team fights. I do have to give the edge to Chiron just a little bit, thanks to the fact he is a lot safer in those team fights. He can impact them from a bit further away. And his ultimate almost feels like a long-range mage ultimate at times.
Yeah, it seems like that the Herculean Hooves are just going to try to make sure, just keep going grinding, keep on trying to get into that late game phase, because once they get there, they can team fight. And the Sharks, even though they do have a fantastic team fight and they can kind of win these games, it seems like the Herculean Hooves are going to try their best to maintain this trajectory, try to get to the late game, and make sure that they can focus out one specific target. And I kind of would like to lean towards maybe Gaijay, because we do know that Heimdall does carry a lot of weight in these.
I like to have seen Herculean Hooves play a little bit more aggressively around Gino, though. They have this early game aggressive support in the Cabrakan. They've built up the sovereignty early on because of the amount of physical damage hits on Tiburones. 4 physical damage dealers, only Spreen the only magical damage dealer. So they have a lot of protections with that Shadow Zone giving 5% mitigations on top of the aura. Just fight around him. Look to play around Gino. Look to play him aggressively. You picked this early game support for a reason. So just go ahead and fight with him.
Yeah, fighting is definitely what needs to happen with Gino, and just needs that aggression to be there. We do know that Cabrakan is one of the better fighters when it comes to it, and so once he now has that sovereignty online, which is, not surprising considering how much physical damage is out on the side of the Sharks, so getting that sovereignty will help out, but try to be a little bit more aggressive, get into these fights. And I think they're going to try to wait a little bit as well on Snoopy, because Snoopy, with this Chiron, once he hits that level 20 mark and he starts swinging for the fences, watch out, world. Those snipes can come out pretty quickly. As Blink comes in on the Bluegun, he's going to drop kick onto Not Gino. Not Gino throw down the ultimate. The winds seem to have not quite dropped yet. He's holding on to it, but he does get portaled out. Bluegun just trying to zone out as many people as possible along with Heed. Heed's going to go onto the back line. Giddy Up will go out for Snoopy, and he will gash away. So now Meerkat's going to be in. There comes the winds of Shamash as he's able to portal out Meerkat just with a couple of health bars left. And the Oni Fury did not fall just yet, but a good team fight out of Herculean Hooves, just try to stall it as much as possible. Now Gino is able to stun out Kobe. Kobe taking a lot of damage, so he will have to completely disengage. Baskin trying to see if maybe he can help out. Heed gets stunned out with a Sonic Boom, so Mast is now here. He's going to get hit with a drop kick, but look at Bluegun, he's looking weak too. Mast trying to dash onto him. Tsukiyomi's going to throw out the ultimate. He will hit so many targets. Kobe picked up Mast. Kobe picked up 2 into Baskin. Now Gino's going to trimble Bluegun to death. Will he be able to do it? He will not. As Snoopy is now completely alone, Heed will pick him up, and Gino is going to get drop kick away, but the rest of the squad is here to see if he can try to get something out of this, but they're all weak. Cope Baby will fall to Not Gino.
And that's just one pickup for 3. Tiburones also pick up the Gold Fury. Gino almost managing to pick up Bluegun as well, but just the drop kick puts him a bit too far away. Fantastic team fight from the Tiburones there. It looked good for the Herculean Hooves midway through that team fight. A lot was expended by the Sharks just to try and pick somebody off. No one was found, then all of a sudden, bang, engaged from Mast, looked great, turns around for the Sharks' favor thanks to a huge ultimate from Code Baby, turning it around, picking up 2 kills in quick succession onto Mast and Baskin.
Yeah, Cope Baby's just massive ultimate was the one that really turned the fight for me. Even though he did fall in the end, I think that just definitely separated the fight. And what was so interesting is that the Herculean Hooves, they were trying to get in, they were trying to see what they could do, and Sharks kind of split up that fight a little bit. And it was almost like it happened in 2 phases, where the Herculean Hooves burned so much at the part 1 of the fight, and the Sharks had everything for part 2 of the fight. So part 2 is what really showed out. Now that they had this Oni Fury, those Oni waves will start spawning, about 3,000 gold ahead for the Sharks. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more aggression out of this right-hand side now that the Tier 1 tower for the Herculean Hooves fell on that side.
The Tiburones just going to take a little bit of a break, though, from the left-hand side and start to focus on the right-hand side. Just a tiny bit taking the Pyromancer down, and down it goes. Heed spotted Gino. Gino going to be able to get away just for now. But knocked up, sundered. Here comes the winds as well. He should be able to get out, though, because Bastion's there with us through space and time.
Well, Baskin comes right back in, and he gets stopped with the winds, and so now Meerkat trying to see if he can collapse onto Bluegun, but luckily Spreen is there just with a little bit of damage to make sure that Meerkat doesn't quite collapse on him, so Bluegun will be able to get out, even though expending his ultimate, that's going to help out a little bit. Baskin had to expend his ultimate as well, big through space and time needing to be used just to help out Not Gino.
Tier 1 tower, going to be a response call from the Herculean Hooves over on the left-hand side. Snoopy doing his best just to try and get some semblance of farm to get ahead of Gaijay and put himself at tied top level in the game alongside Heed. And they're gonna need somebody to look to try and take down this behemoth of a Kakulum, because he's got quite a fair bit of health right now. Guy J is on the ropes. Mass takes him down. Beautifully executed gank.
Remember when we were saying that Mass needs to be more aggressive with the ultimates? Well, there it was. He was aggressive, and sure enough, now he's in perfect position to start to pick up Blugan. But Spring doing a lot of damage to not Gino, so Baskin try to see if he can hit the Unstable Vortex, and he does, so he will fall Blugan. And that's what you want to see out of the Herculean Hoofs. A 2 for the price of none, even though you almost lost your support. Big ultimate expended out of Cope Baby to try to see if he can collapse on the Baskin, but Baskin is thinking with portals, making sure that he gets out. Now Cope Baby has 4 members of the Herculean Hoofs surrounding him. A stun will come out, beads come out for Mask, and he will still fall, but Cope Baby in response.
He manages to pick up 1 by the skin of his teeth. Those Caltrops doing a lot of damage to Mass as he walks over them. Surrounded by 4, picks up 1 in trade for himself. I'll definitely take that regardless of what role I'm playing. Support, ADC, solo, jungle. I'm taking that trade.
Yeah, getting 1 for yourself is helpful, but when you take a look at the level difference, especially when you're up a level on the person that you just killed, it's like icing on the cake, right, Alpha? It's just like, yes, I got a kill over you, and I still keep you down. Because Mast has just been behind all game, even though he's been a part of 6 of the 7 kills. Just seems like that Cope Baby has always just been in these fights more consistently, able to throw out more consistent damage.
Yeah, and as you said, that Mercury ultimate that we saw from him on that left-hand side, that was one of the first times we've seen him use it in an offensive way. And on that left-hand side, one of the first times we've seen them actually put pressure onto Guy J. It's happened far too late, in my opinion. It needed to happen at 10 minutes, not 18.5 minutes into the game. But something which I do like to see, as a man of culture myself, double Sunder coming out from the Sharks. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, the double Sunder is definitely helping, as it looks like the Fire Giant's actually going to be called, but it's an absolute bait call, as he is now the target. There's the 1 Sunder, as Snoopy's able to pick him up. Now Blugan throws out the ultimate, the Winds of the Shamash.
Oh my god.
Through space and time was hit, and it did hit Cope Baby. Cope Baby has to Aegis. The Mercury Sonic Boom, aggression again. Not Gina will be able to pick up Cope Baby. And now the Herculean Hoofs are on the chase to try to get Spring. Spring drops the ultimate, but it will not matter. Snoopy picks him up. A free Fire Giant for the Herculean Hoofs, if they so choose.
That is how you bait and fight, ladies and gentlemen. Take notes if you are in any form of competitive team. Watch that play over and over again, dissect it and repeat it. Herculean Hoofs pick up the Fire Giant. They're going to pick up Blugan here. He tried for the steal, just a little bit too late. It was doomed from the start for the Sharks there, though, because they were at best 5 versus 4, with the fact that Guy J was over on the left-hand side trying to pick up some farm to get himself level 20. Picks up a tier 2 tower in response, but how much damage will Herculean Hoofs do now that they've got this Fire Giant?
Oh, I'm assuming they're going to do a lot of damage, AJ. The Herculean Hoofs have been behind all game, and now they have officially caught back up. The gold level is pretty much even, hovering right around 100, but as this tier 2 tower will eventually fall on the right-hand side of the map, it looks like that it's going to be pretty much over for this one, and they're going to try to push this down, try to disengage a little bit. There is a Gold Fury, though, on that left-hand side of the map, and that Mast is able to see, so maybe they look for that, try to, buy the gold that they just got back up.
Yeah, if you got a tier 1, tier 2 tower, Fire Giant, 4 kills, back to base, buy up what I imagine is going to be tier 3 items across the board. Even if it's just a couple of tiers in one item and then the finishing off of the other one, you're buying essentially a full item with that one back. Go into base, buy that up, go over to the right-hand side, for you, left-hand side on the map as we're looking at it, and start to push down maybe the tier 2 tower there. Go for the Gold Fury first if you're feeling a bit more passive, a bit more disciplined. I prefer taking it on the way out, if I'm honest, just to make sure I take as much offensive use out of the Fire Giant as possible.
Well, I noticed it at the little bit earlier on, AJ, but Mast has elected to go into the Rage. Normally we see that coming out of Mercury's, but in that one team fight alone, he has fully stacked it. He had 1 stack for the past 10 minutes of the game, and 1 minute in, at that 19-minute mark around that Fire Giant, he was able to stack it all the way up. So massive crits now are going to come out of this Mercury, and he has caught back up into levels just because of that team fight. So that's really going to help out the Herculean Hoofs jungle. And now Herculean Hoofs, even though they were playing behind this entire time, they're running this game. They're getting the last tier 2 tower, it seems, as it's getting pinged out. Looks like the Tiburones are going to try to see if they can defend this at all, but I don't think they can. His ultimate does come out of He. The Winds of Shamash get dropped, and now the ultimate out of Cope Baby to see if he can land onto anybody. Looks like not Gino having to take the exit out with Baskin. Bifrost gets dropped just to try to get him on the auto attack reset, but no one has fallen yet for the Herculean Hoofs, so they're playing this a little bit patiently and waiting for this next minion wave.
Just one ultimate expended for Herculean Hooves, one relic being the Sunder. We'll have a look at the Sharks. Look at what they expended. Both Sunders got used. 4 ultimates have been expended on their side as well. The only one that's up is Gaijay's. It's a massive win for Herculean Hooves just to play that safe, play that patient, and play it carefully. There was no panic on their side whatsoever of, I need to use my Aegis, I'm being engaged upon. I need to use my beats, I'm being engaged upon. No, it's calm, collected. Guys, I'm Baskin. I've got this ult out of here. Just take it and leave. We'll come back and get the tower once they've calmed down a little bit, and just perfect play again.
Well, he just got absolutely hit with a sonic boom, but the walls
so
will
close.
not connect. So close for not Gino. But now they can say, hey, we were pinging this Pyromancer a little bit earlier. Let's go ahead and see if we can get that. Try to see if they did strip the jungle on that left-hand side, giving Baskin that upgraded red buff to help him out with his lifesteal. As now the Pyromancer is going to get taken down by the Herculean Hoofs. It does look like that the Sharks do want to contest this a little bit, but I would be surprised if they just kind of leave it alone. The amount of wards that are out for the Herculean Hoofs are just absolutely insane. As Bluegan, he said, no, I want to go back in. He uses the blink, he uses the dropkick, was able to get beads out, but now Coke Baby is here. The Winds of Shamash get dropped. Snoopy might be the one that falls. The ultimate does come out, and Baskin's trying to see if he can help out his carry. Snoopy is still alive for right now. No, he will fall because of that ultimate. He tried to see if he can get a last hit on anybody, but he will pick him up. Now not Gino's taking a lot of damage in the back. Espreen is able to pick him up. This is exactly what you want to see out of the Sharks. A 2-for-none trade.
They circled, and eventually found their prey. It was a slightly weird engage, I thought, from Bluegan, blinking into the middle of 3 people, nobody around. But that little bit of confusion about whether to engage or disengage is what gave the Sharks that win there. The Herculean Hooves, a little bit indecisive about how they wanted to approach that fight, and Tiburones pounced on that beautifully. Picking up Gino, picking up and isolating Snoopy was the main thing there. Mast, nowhere to be seen in that fight. Baskin playing defense for Snoopy, just couldn't work out for him.
Yeah, just no real defense there. It just seemed like that, hey, the Herculean Hooves just got caught on the wrong foot. The Fire Giant did wear off of them at that perfect time, so now the Fire Giant is getting pinged out from both of these teams, as we're now going to start seeing this Fire Giant dance at the 25, 30 second mark, as it is now flashing. And now with everybody focusing on the right-hand side, you're the Sharks, you need this Fire Giant. You want this Fire Giant. And really, everybody's level 20 except for the supports, but when you're not Gino and you're almost level 20, you're so close to being there. With Bluegan just jumping in like this, I don't see why you just don't focus him, as Bluegan takes a big chunk of his health from Baskin, but Coke Baby's going to be there in response.
For focusing down Bluegan, they have to make sure that his wins are down and that his leap is down. If both of those are down, he is very easy to pick off, very easy to lock down. If one of them is still up, there's a potential for Bluegan to turn the fight into his favor. That's just the nature of a difficult-to-take-down Gilgamesh. He can control team fights quite well at this stage of the game, which is one of the hindrances that he has if he is played as the assassin jungler. But he is going to be the one that goes in. Bluegan on the backside does the secondary engage, and it could work out well for his team, as in goes the rest of them.
Well, not Gino going to be able to dodge that Sunder. Bluegan is now going to be the target for 3 of them. It looks like Mast and not Gino are trying, Meerkat and not Gino are trying to do something, but it looks like not Gino will fall. The dropkick happens. Snoopy's able to pick up Coke Baby in the back. So what will that happen, though? A big Mantle Discord prop to stun 3, but it won't matter. Heed will pick him up. Snoopy trying to see if he can get a last little bit of snipe out on the Gaijay. But a 2-for-1 trade definitely helps out the Sharks to maintain this sort of pressure. But their health bars are too low to keep around, but Herculean Hooves just making sure that everything sticks in their favor. Fire Giant is still going to get pinged from both these teams.
Hugely split fight there from both teams. I want to say it was by design by the Sharks. Coke Baby had pretty much everybody, apart from the tanks, over at the Tier 2 tower and right. They're just... It was like one fight was taking place in Europe and the other in North America. That's just how far apart those two instances were of fights. And Cope, for all is worth, he did die, but he bought so much time for his team by surviving for as long as he did. I imagine he hit like 3... Actually, his ultimate is still up. That could be his backup of cooldown because of the fact that he has built 40% CDR. But at the same point, it could have been earlier on. He hit 3 or 4 people with a lot of his shots, thereby hitting 10 or 12 times. That buys you 4 seconds at least.
Well, Bluegan just jumped in onto Meerkat to see if he could stop any sort of pressure on this Fire Giant, as it was getting started up by the Sharks. With Blugan taking about half his health, he's going to go ahead and walk away, making sure that the rest of his team's able to get out. But it does look like that if Herculean who spot this out, that the fact that their biggest engagement just backed, they might want to see if they can start taking this themselves. Ward's getting dropped, and now the Fire Giant will be started by the Herculean Hooves. He is around, though. It's about 1/4 of his health down. Looks like Meerkat trying to see if he can get some more damage off, but now it looks like the Herculean Hooves want to fight this in the jungle. Not Gina taking a little bit of poke, but Guy J be able to get through, but a big through space and time will connect, and so will the great damage out of Baskin as ult comes out from Mercury. He gets sundered out from Guy J. Looks like Coke Baby trying to throw out his ultimate to see if he can get some damage off before he falls. He's going to try to throw out the Cal Traps. Coke Baby getting away with just nuggets of health, but Baskin is there. We'll pick up Coke Baby in response. Another Mantle Discord prop will stun the Herculean Hooves, but Blugan trying to run away with a little bit of his life. Mask will pick up Heed. It looks like it could very well be as portals come out. Baskin trying to hit an unstable vortex. He gets a double kill, an unofficial triple. The only person left is Spreen. The right-hand side Phoenix will fall, and now it's Spreen's own objective to try to see if he can stop this push from happening. So much damage out of the Soul. So the Zap Raid's going to come through, going to try to get him into the fountain, and it sure does. Titan is under attack. They don't have towers, but Spreen doesn't have a life to stand on. Mask will pick him up. That's a deicide. And the Sharks will fall. Herculean Hooves picking up game 1.
Great game by both teams there. The Sharks dominated the early game from my mind. They managed to find consistent blue buff invades and managed to put pressure across the map, but leaving the Gold Fury alone was mistake number 1. Leaving Baskin alone was mistake number 2, 3, 4. Like, just all the mistakes from there on were just down to Baskin playing this Giannis. Don't let him have it game number 2, please. I beg of you.
Well, it was definitely the Baskin show out of the mid lane, but we are going to take a quick little break, and then the desk will be able to break that thing down a little bit better. Stick around. We'll be right after this.
One back and forth high kill game. All came down to the wire, and the Herculean Hoofs kind of on the back foot there around the FG, able to turn things around, grab that fight, grab themselves the win here, Miff.
Man, gold disparity was a little bit deceptive that game. The Herculean Hoofs were up a pretty commanding amount throughout the mid to late game, but still the team fights were so back and forth. We predicted it going into that one. We are going to have a little bit of a barnyard burner there, and that's exactly the pace that we had. 24 kills in as many minutes, but still this time around the team with Woony Kim, the Baskin, comes out ahead. I mean, Yanis, King Arthur, Mercury, hard to argue against.
What kind of saying is that? A barn burner?
Barnyard burner.
Yeah, but what is that? What does that mean?
Well, it's like, so when you have like these, like, not luau's, like
All
the
right.
two-step dance, I don't know.
All right, there's clearly no answer to this. Mifflin and I will figure this one out while the next game is going on here. I was intrigued, and I'm glad we start off with a bit of a replay here from Gino. I was intrigued how this Cabrakan pick would look here this game. Seemingly found some value by the end of it. Snoopy as well. We talked a little bit about the matchup that we'd see here against both of these hunters, and while Guy J didn't have a miserable game, Snoopy is the one standing tall at the end of it. But Miff, I think it's hard to look anywhere else other than Baskin by the end of this one. Some of the plays this guy was making on this pick, I don't think can be understated.
And not just the plays where he's finding kills or putting out damage. So often in these team fights, he's getting chased out by the jungler and the soul laner, and his entire job was just to remain slippery, make sure he isn't getting shut down, because at the least, he's distracting two members of the opposition, and he does so consistently. How many times did Tsukiyomi look for the piercing moonlight
at least once
and hit air? At least once.
At least one single time is how that happened. Or how many times that happened. 23,000 damage for Meerkat, 24,000 for Heat, so the solo laners, I think, deserving of a shout-out here in this game. I really hope production's not baiting me here, because I'm just going to read exactly what they sent me. An American phrase, barn burner, was first coined as one word, barn burn. Oh, so there's no space in the original
coining. You were putting
coining.
a space?
Now there is a space to describe a certain type of politician in the mid-1800s. The early use of barn burner describes someone who, when faced with a barn infested with rats, was willing just to burn down the barn.
What? That can't be more cost-effective.
To get rid of the rats.
Yeah, dude. So I had a rat in my house, so I burned it down. That's so smart.
I do feel that way with spiders. Here's the problem. I have such a unique relationship with spiders. I realize they're so important to like the food chain and life in general. Terrify me. I can't do it. I'd rather just burn the place down. So, barn burner in this sense is just everything goes to chaos. The whole game is burning down just because there's players inside of the game and the way that rats are inside of the barn. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, you nailed
this
that.
One's production's fault because they sent me an answer to a question we had.
They sent you the wiki?
No, you just sent me, copied and pasted it.
From the wiki, I bet.
Probably was. Unless he has really, really good typing, writing skills. I don't know. I'm sure Tyler has it in him. Look, after game number one, though, we'll reroute ourselves in some analysis here. I think in the ways that you can lose a game while frustrating for the Tiburones, at least it's a close game. It's back and forth. You lose a rough team fight around the FG. It's not like you got blown out of the water by this Herculean Hoofs team that is maybe one of the best in NA.
No, they've certainly had their footing in that one through and through. Maybe we see the Tiburones go a little bit more so towards the early game, trying to get a little bit more presence there, potentially through their jungler. But outside of that, the draft was just working. They were winning team fights consistently, even though they weren't able to transition into leads like the Hoofs were. Tiburones would win a team fight, back up, maybe get a tier 1 tower. Hoofs would win a team fight, pick up Fire Giants, Gold Furies, whatever they needed to further expand their lead. As long as the Tiburones are picking their fights a little bit more intelligently when there's something for them to gain afterward, I think that their draft would have been just fine.
I think a lot of people would probably look at a matchup between these two teams and could potentially see a sneak peek at the grand finals over here in NA with the way that these two teams have been playing. Of course, Sturdy Artisan's a team to look out for as well as the winner dogs. So plenty of teams here in NA that are bringing the contest to this weekend. But this one, very close. Could be a two-gamer, though, if the Herculean Hoofs are able to take it here. Picks and bans will tell a little bit more of that story. Tiamat taken away. Giannis, I think, had to be banned out. You needed to get it banned out up against Baskin. Soul makes its way through, though, and the Tiburones like that for first pick.
But they do leave a lot of things on the table. When you're talking about Baskin, you got to really remember that he's got a Scylla in the back pocket. Raijin's been having a great performance in the last couple of weeks. Wouldn't be overly surprised if we see the Hoofs decide to go that way with their mid-pick as well. But for now, Snoopy gets to reprise his performance on the Chiron, and King Arthur comes through yet again. It kind of feels like we're playing some SPL tier matches here. That's exactly the type of draft you can expect to see from the highest tier of play.
I wonder if Tiburones then feel pressed to draft Cucullin here. If you don't, unless you want Gilgamesh over there on the soul lane, if you don't draft Cucullin, I think could be an easy ban for the Herculean Hoofs, because the top damagers in that game, of course, the Soul Laners, one King Arthur, one Kilcullen, both over 23,000 damage. Not going to be the answer, though, from the Tiburones. Instead, they'll give Gaijay Rom, a very strong pick there for Gaijay, but Myth, not a pick that we've seen all that often.
I mean, it's one of Gaijay's favorites to go to, but in Season 8, he's had a couple of shadow nerfs, if you would. No longer can you go up to the air with your ultimate and then immediately land and roll out. Instead, you have a little bit of a couple frames before you're able to use that rollout to get yourself out of those sticky situations, which means that it's harder to delay your landing or go for an early landing to try and juke out your opposition. Instead, now that ultimate is going to be used to mainly initiate fights from a range. You got about 1,200 damage coming from it in the late game, so you could use it to separate these engagements before they start off properly. But it is a double-edged sword. Rom, incredibly easy to shut down and land. Some
self-peel there as well, which is important when going up against King Arthur, going up against Mercury. You've talked about the changes where once the ultimate is over, how you can or cannot self-disengage, but in that moment where Mercury or King Arthur has found you and you need to get out of the fight, you at least still have that with your ultimate there. Mercury is going to round out the draft here for the Herculean Hoofs. Plenty of disruption there in game number 1, so I think no surprise that we'll see it here again in game number 2. Ymir, Ratatoskr follow up, Scylla, as you mentioned, as well as Raijin, all taken away from Baskin, but Baskin seems okay taking his pick with the 5th and final slot here from the Herculean Hoofs. Mercury and Fafnir, though, Mifflin, you pair that Fafnir with Chiron, you pair it with Mercury, seems to be a good match.
Yeah, it spells a recipe for disaster for any Fire Giant or Gold Fury fans, because they're going to fall expeditiously once these two get their hands on them. Now that so many bans have rounded their way out towards the Hoofs, and in particular towards Baskin, I'm going to be very curious to see where he decides to go with his pick. He does have a Morrigan in the back pocket. He's gone to that pick pretty consistently in the past. It could work out here, especially up against gods like Rom and Tsukuyomi. If you're able to isolate him, could look for the burst. But instead, the tried and true Merlin coming through, and if we were worried about how quickly they're going to burn objectives beforehand, well, that's made all that much worse by that Merlin.
Right, you're feeling good about your objective burn with just a Merlin on your side. Now you get a Chiron, a Mercury, and a Fafnir in the mix there as well. So quick objectives might be the name of the game here for the Hoofs. We've talked a lot about the Hoofs draft. Tiburones, Sol, Gilgamesh, Rom, Kilcullen, Tsukuyomi. We've talked about some of those picks individually, but do you think as 5 the Tiburones have drafted something for themselves here, Mifflin, that can work together?
It can, but my concern with this Tiburones draft is who is going to be the consistent engage for him? Is it going to be Winds of Shamash every single time? Is it going to be a Kilcullen blinking forward with a knockup? Because outside of that, they're really lacking on consistent CC. They're likely going to be looking to take reactive fights, trying to utilize their disengage ability through the Kilcullen peel, through Souls to Separate to try and kite out these engagements. But as far as proactive play goes, the Sharks are going to have to play nearly perfect.
Are you surprised to see what, again, I'm going to assume is Gilgamesh support in back-to-back games? Did you like it enough? Did you not get enough data on it? Kind of flew under the radar, I think, in game 1, so maybe another look for the Tiburones is good.
It got shown up a little bit, but it certainly has potential. Keep your eyes on it, though.
We'll see if the Herculean Hoofs can make it a 2-0. Game number 2 starts right now.
Well, Dave and Mifflin, it looks like that game number 2 will start off, and we do see that Gilgamesh support yet again. And AJ, I'm looking at this comp. It's just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it for kind of both sides. It seems like the Bluegan is going to try to see if maybe he can get something with this Gilgamesh support, try to see if maybe they can get a little bit more aggression. But I think Mifflin's absolutely right. They're going to have to commit something onto these team fights. And do you really just want to just dive on in? I mean, you do have Gaijay now on the Rama. Maybe that will round up a little bit better, but it's hard to see where the dive in is going to happen to.
And they have slightly easier dive, as you pointed out, with Gaijay being on this ROM, can support that backline dive a bit easier. And they have no longer to worry about these Janus portals. This is a huge, huge change. It may seem like a little bit trivial going from a Janus to a Merlin, because both of them still do incredible amounts of damage, both of them can still be quite safe and still control teamfights quite well. But one will allow your entire team to escape and run away through walls, whilst the other one will provide a slow field and a pull occasionally. It's a huge, huge difference to how Herculean Hoofs are going to be approaching the retreats from some of these fights. And with how aggressive the Sharks played the last game, this is a big, big switch-up for them, which I think favors them massively.
Yeah, it could favor them massively, but look over on the right-hand side. Meerkat taking a little bit of poke. Beads expended. It won't matter. Heed will pick up first blood over on the right-hand side, getting a solo kill.
What just happened? How? That is a King Arthur. Like, the god that's receiving... I don't know. 11, 12, 17,000 nerfs in the next patch. It's all the same to me about how many he's receiving, but he's just got manhandled by Heed, so picking up where he left off from when the last laning phase Heed couldn't control this right-hand side again. They're going to look for blue buff invades, and it was bad enough for Meerkat before when he had his blue buff stripped away from him on spawns. Now he no longer has it from the beginning of the game. He is way, way behind in lane now.
Yeah, it seems like that Meerkat, he was able to get away through things here and there, as we are going to take a replay at it. Just look at the amount of damage that happened. And Meerkat was I was about to say, he was fighting into minions when it happened, and this perfect rage form into a couple of ticks, was able to get the beads as well. So it just, big win for the solo lane side on that right-hand side. But now, maybe we can start seeing Cope maybe be a little bit more effective with these rotations, because we saw it kind of linger around in game 1 where, hey, maybe something can happen here, something can happen here, but just every time they were just a little bit hesitant to collapse on the Meerkat.
But now there shouldn't be that sort of hesitation. Just full-on commit to him if they can do. No longer is he going to have that safety of those Janus portals to get him out. But they will have to worry about the turn potential coming out for the Herculean Hoofs here, because it is massive turn potential that they do have on their team. They have an empowered Mercury through Fafnir's, a Coerce. They're going to have Baskin doing tremendous amounts of damage with the Fire and Ice stance, or Fire and Void stance. You know, there's quite a lot on the table for Herculean Hoofs to turn around with. So it's up to the Sharks to get off to the start that they've got onto right now, not just in solo lane, but in one other lane too, to start controlling that side of the map consistently to build themselves up a lead.
Yeah, they're definitely looking to control themselves on the right side of the map. Now, Meerkat was able to, show some presence in the later team fights once he was able to get up there, but he was pretty consistently behind, so maybe it's not going to be too bad for the Herculean Hoofs. They've been playing from behind in game 1, so they could probably play from behind game 2, I can imagine, but I think you're absolutely right. Baskin being on this Merlin, not going to be as much escape potential that can come out for the Herculean Hooves, so maybe that might spell a little bit of disaster. So maybe this comp that's all dive and all bite, but no bark, can help out for the Tiburones, as now they're going on to see if they can get onto Baskin, but Blugan able to get the drop kick and just walk away because Spreen's elected to farm in the mid lane. And on the right-hand side, too, it looks like this might happen yet again. Dash in, beats expended again, and Meerkat will fall again. 2 kills for the solo lane.
Yeah, I think we settled who's the better solo laner in this, just for today at the very least. Heed has just dominated Meerkat right now on these 2 picks, and it wasn't super great for him in the last game either. He got invaded constantly, he was put behind constantly on this King Arthur, so the fact that he went back to it and let Heed pick the same matchup again is quite strange to me. He's just gone, well, if you're going to let me do it again, I'm going to correct my mistake of not going super aggressive like I could usually do, and I'm going to correct the fact that I didn't get solo kills.
Now I have to ask the question, AJ. Heed's 2 levels up. You normally don't see your solo laner start rotating into the fights until about like the 10 to 15-ish minute mark, just depending on how the fight's going on that left-hand side. But do you start seeing him start rotating a little bit faster? Oh, not no. Again. He just got level 5, guys. You're going to expend ultimates, you're going to drop kick him into a wall, and the man's just going to fall yet again. He has a family, guys. Come on.
Tell you what he doesn't have anymore, a blue buff.
No, okay, the blue buff was more important. You're absolutely right. As ult is going to come out onto Spreen, beads getting expended as well. Mask going to take a little bit of knock-up damage, but not a whole lot of damage. So this red buff will be free for the Herculean Hooves. They'll get a little bit of a consolation prize for their solo laner being down 3 kills.
3 kills, 2 levels down. The entire jungle over on this right-hand side is falling to pieces for the Herculean Hooves. But we got a purple and red buff. We're also going to get the Gorp to ourselves, so it looks like the map's already been decided in terms of split. Sharks want to play on this right-hand side. That is completely abundant right now. Over on the left-hand side, though, the Hooves, that's where they're going to be finding their ground and should be able to find themselves a little bit of favor. I mean, it was difficult to gank Guy J last game because he was playing on the Heimdall, could just teleport away from the gank from Mast. This time it's a Ram. A lot easier for him to gank, a lot easier for him to just put pressure on with this Mercury pick, so I'm imagining that this time Mast will start to put more pressure, more ultimates onto this left-hand side, especially considering the fact that they've pretty much written off this solo lane.
Well, and what's pretty interesting, too, is the fact that when we saw the Herculean Hoofs down, not in a similar situation, but they were down at one point, they were able to sneak a Gold Fury on that left-hand side, so maybe that is their ultimate play, try to see if they can get a little bit on the left-hand side. But he's going to ult, he's going to turn into Rage Form yet again. Is he going to get soloed again? No, he will not, because the tower is going to help save him just a little bit of health, but Meerkat was around just in case he decided to go into the tower, but I gotta feel bad for Meerkat. We now know where the focus was, AJ, as you mentioned, and wow, this Meerkat's not going to be able to do really anything until he hits that level 15 mark.
Meerkat was spared there by the fact that he'd intentionally missed his route and therefore didn't get his Warcry off. It was showing him mercy by missing that ability.
Yeah, mercy indeed, but I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of mercy for GaiJ on this left-hand side. He is a little bit upset that he's not going to be able to get this blue buff just yet, but over on that left-hand side, Blue can get sundered as Snoopy has made the rotation as well as Mass, trying to see if they can get something onto this left-hand side purple buff. They were able to invade it, but Meerkat will finally be able to get his blue buff, it seems. Will he be able to keep it is the better question.
I think he'll be able to keep it. He showed that he's a bit more resilient now that he's got these tank boots. A little bit of health and HP 5 from this glowing emerald is certainly going to help him out a lot. But he's going to have to contend with the fact that he has a full Stone of Gaia over him, is 2 levels up, and is now maxed out his first ability. I imagine has got himself 2 or 3 points into his third ability. No points into his Ventanger just yet. Just depends how aggressively he wants to play this lane.
Over on the left-hand side, Blugan was trying to see if he could set up a kill for GaiJ, but he was unfortunately stunned out. Now, over on the left-hand side, we did see Herculean Hooves invade that purple buff and get it for themselves, so that did help out Snoopy a little bit, just to try to give them some sort of lead over on the left-hand side. But Mass taking a lot of damage from Blugan just from that drop kick, but the Oracles will trade 1 for 1, and no one really gets any vision on that Gold Fury right now.
And that's a big win for the Sharks, because Herculean Hooves, they've shown that they wanted to control this right-hand side of the jungle, and that could have spelled a disaster in the fact that they could get Gold Fury very, very, very easily. Have a look at their comp. It's insane to burst out these objectives. They have a Mercury, they have a Chiron, but most importantly, they have a Merlin. And the Fafnir on top of that, these objectives just aren't going to be made for this world whatsoever if all 4 of them are around them. So it's good for the Sharks to put something over on this left-hand side as a contingency.
Well, Meerkat is going to do some damage, try to get some damage off onto Heat, but in that Rage form, nothing will really come through it. But Mast is around to see if maybe he can help out his solo laner.
He fights them both.
Not enough mana to really do anything, and He's able to get out of there. GaiJ goes up into it, hitting all 3 snipes on the Snoopy. Last one will connect. Blugan trying to see if he can get something, but he was disarmed by Not Gino. Ping's coming out. Cope Baby is around. Cope Baby's going to throw out the ultimate. It will connect, so Snoopy will fall. Not Gino, going to stun Blugan under the tower. Taking 2 tower shots. Gino going to try to see if he can maybe leap onto Blugan, but Blugan has that jump to get away.
And now away he goes, and good response from the Sharks to get something back over on this left-hand side again. It was been mostly the Herculean Hooves that have been over here, but recognizing that he is a big boy, extremely big, and could just defend himself, doesn't need nobody else to hold his hand. He's level 11 to level 8 of Meerkat and level 9 of Mast. The tier 1 tower is gone. He needs nobody over here, unless the Merlin comes over. Then we could see some potential for a kill. That's exactly what Baskin's hoping for.
Not only Merlin, but it looks like Mass is over there on the right-hand side as well. He's just going to 3v1. Meerkat will be able to pick it up, but on the left-hand side, the Gold Fury will fall in favor of the Sharks. Big win for the Sharks. They're 3k up now at this 10-minute mark, and they just have to stop this bleeding somewhere for the Herculean Hooves, and it looks like they might go for this Pyromancer as it spawns in 5 seconds.
But just imagine how much gold and experience they got for taking down Heat there. Just look at him. He's top of the net worth by over 500. He was worth a lot. You can see the dip. He was basically worth the same amount as a Gold Fury in terms of gold. That is ludicrous. Just for somebody at this stage of the game.
Yeah, it's just coming out of the solo lane too. Now, normally we don't talk about the solo lane as much, just because it's just a slap fight. You know, it's yeah, I'm gonna slap you and I'm gonna back and grab items. I'm gonna slap you again and back and grab items. But Heat has shown that out of the kills that have happened, most of them have been on that right-hand side. The only one kill that happened on the left-hand side was actually gonna be Snoopy that fell on that Chiron with Cope Baby making the rotation, but so much pressure on that right-hand side that even though they had to burn everything on that right-hand side of the map on the solo lane, the Sharks said, hey, now we can make the switch and grab this Gold Fury. Now we can control the left-hand side of the map. So now maybe we can start seeing the rest of the Sharks start ganking over onto Snoopy and try to get him out of position.
Yeah, it certainly would help Gaiji, who has found himself a little bit behind in terms of golden experience. It's the only thing which I think that they're really worried about. Spreen against Baskin, they both bring separate things to the team fight. Yes, they're both mid laners who want to be doing mage-style damage, but Spreen on this Soul, who's... We haven't picked up on this yet, but has gone Eye of the Jungle as a start, right? We'll pick on that later, because being picked up again is Meerkat.
He's just gonna fall to Cope Baby, who's now on a killing spree. Looking pretty weak as well, as Bluegan taking not a whole lot of damage. He was able to flicker away. Actually, Baskin was able to flicker away from Bluegan, as Bluegan's now gonna jump away and see if maybe he can lead them onto the bait. Try to see if he can get a hook line sneaker and bring them over to Heed, who's just, taking the enemy jungle yet again. He's so massive, AJ, that it's impossible, it seems like, to stop him. He's just a moving tank at this point.
He is just unbelievably difficult to deal with right now, and they're going to have to find a way to do something about him on the Herculean Hooves, otherwise it's just going to go from bad to worse to unstoppable when the team fights start. You don't want an unstoppable person rotating into team fights, you want to stop them before it gets to that stage. He's got a Mystical Mail now as Heed. Going to be going into some magical defense afterwards, I would imagine. It picks up a Purification Beat as his second relic, recognizing that he is most likely the person of focus here from Herculean Hooves. They've got a decent amount of single target CC chain, so beginning of those Purification Beats can just go into this backline a lot more freely.
Now, we haven't talked about it. We've been talking a lot about the Soul Lane, but Cope Baby is 3-0-0. He's kind of running the game effectively in the jungle. He's 2 levels up on his counterpart in Mass, who only has that 1 assist to him. Seems like that maybe the Herculean Hooves are trying to play the late game, but there's going to be a point in time where the Sharks are just going to catapult themselves a massive lead, probably on the back of Heed and Cope Baby. As Bluegan is over here on the left-hand side, maybe seeing if he can get Snoopy out of position, but will not. And it just seems like that the Tiburones, this is a different team than what we saw out of Game 1.
But remember what the Herculean Hooves did. They were behind in kills, they were behind in gold, and Mass was down about 2 or 3 levels. Guess what happened? They turned around in one team fight, Mass got ahead of Cope Baby in that one team fight, they then got Fire Giant off that, and then a few fights later, they won the game.
Well, Mask is going to go ahead and ult in. His beats are going to be expended as well. He's going to try to dash away from Bluegan. Looks like that Baskin trying to throw out some damage to help. Not Gino has gone up, and Not Gino has gone down in his Dragon Force as Gaije is able to pick him up. So that's going to be a kill for the boys in blue, the Tiburones. Trying to see if they can get something. Heed has trying to make the rotation over, but Meerkat trying to stop him as best he can. Now that Baskin is here, Heed will have to disengage. He is getting pinged out, though, saying Baskin is around this area. Spreen making sure that happens. There's a little taunt coming out from Bluegan saying, hey, you can't do a whole lot of damage to me, Snoopy, because I'm pretty tanky. But with Master around the corner, I think Bluegan's going to have to realize that it might not be the best call, as Baskin's going to get stunned out by Cope Baby. He's going to try to see if he can do some damage. The Piercing Moonlight comes out. Baskin's going to use the flicker away. Aegis have to be expended, but Cope Baby will fall to Baskin, and Snoopy will pick up Bluegan.
Just really good play by Baskin to stay calm in that scenario. Didn't use his beads, recognizing that he just needs to get him under tower. Flicker back under tower, and he's safe and A-OK. Bluegan was way out of position there. There is no reason for him to be that far up, taunting, trying to get in the opponent's heads. You're already in their heads, you're already in their jungle, and not only have you died, you've caused your ADC to die. Your jungler's also dead, and guess what that means with the Gold Fury spawning? Herculean Hooves have found themselves back into the game.
They have found themselves back into the game. This is Primal Fury. Will help them out, being able to clear out the bigger objectives, because Pyromancer is spawning as well, so maybe they start looking to focus on that right-hand side yet again. As this gold lead, you can see the dip right there. It was at one point 4,000 gold, and now it is just hovering at 1,300 in favor of the Tiburones. But when you're the Herculean Hooves, you now have a tourniquet in place on the vein, right? You're keeping everything there. You've stopped the bleeding. There's still a little bit there. You still got to clean up some work, but you've stopped everything. You're trying to see where it could come from. And so far, Meerkat, even though he's down 4 deaths, he's kind of catching back up into these levels later on in the game.
He stabilized the lane mainly because he stopped dying. Let's just call it what it is. He stopped dying and has got some experience under his belt and has kept up with Heed in that sort of farm department, which is exactly what he needed to do. Sharks do pick up the Pyromancer, mainly because they still have control over this side of the map. They've got the ward coverage to make sure that they can do that objective, whilst the Herculean Hooves are still looking to try and stabilize 1 or 2 lanes of their own to start road. They haven't really grouped up for a big teamfight or gank for themselves yet. It's mainly been reactive, and Baskin's feeling the force of it here.
Baskin's beads were expended. Heed will not be able to get the root out as now pings are coming out. Heed will get slowed by the ice form. Mast is trying to see if he can get something set up for his mid laner, but Soul does a lot of damage as now Cope Baby's coming in with his ultimate. He has landed all the shots on the Baskin. Baskin will fall to Heed. Now Mast is having to stay under the tower, but Meerkat able to pick up Cope Baby because Mast was able to throw out the ultimate through that corridor. Now Bluegan is going to get up, and he's going to fall to Snoopy. This is the turnaround that the Herculean Hooves have won. Bleak comes out from Meerkat. He's going to go on to Snoopy. Snoopy's going to go ahead and get that Disaparate off, as well as the Aegis, and now Gaijay is going to be the target because he has nothing. Gino will pick him up. Heed is now left between 4, but he will pick up 2 for the double cell, and now he's going to try to see if he can get away, but Spreen has come back in. He's trying to make sure that his boy can get away. It is tanks versus mid lane and a tank. Looks like Spreen's going to be able to get away with that Disaparate, but not Gino, taking a lot of damage from Mystical Mail. A triple kill for Heat. Now Meerkat's all that's left, and he's just going to walk away.
He's too big, he's too powerful, you cannot stop Heed right now. 6-1-1 for the solo lane. Cullen, a triple kill in that fight to save Tiburones right there. They dove on Baskin, they killed Baskin. Congratulations, you've activated the Herculean Hoops trap card, which is just expending too much to kill Baskin. It's what they want, it's what he wants you to do. If you dive onto him with too much, he laughs because the rest of his team then just cleans up. Tiburones then activate their own trap card, which is called Heed. And he just comes in and gets a triple kill for himself, evening out the fight for a 3-for-3 trade. A 3-for-4 trade? It was very...
3-for-4 trade, yeah. It was close, but what was even closer is the fact that we were talking about it earlier on, AJ, the fact that Heed was going to start being impactful at some point, and sure enough, it's here, as Meerkat is going to get focused yet again, getting stunned out. Beads have to be expended so that he can grab his own blue buff with the help of Mast dropping it for him. They have so much pressure on this right-hand side. Heed is carrying this team in his backpack. That Cullen backpack is there. I don't think you can let them have it if this goes to Game 3. You have to ban this out.
I think you have to change the solo lane dynamic, you're right. Don't let Heed get the Cullen, don't give Meerkat the King Arthur into it if you're going to be if they're going to have to give it the Cullen again. Those are the sort of two things which do need to happen, and what needs to happen is Bluekin needs to stop going this deep under tower, because he's kind of costing his team a little bit, but it's all a bait to kill Meerkat once again.
Yeah, the target just seems to be onto Meerkat. Spring was able to come up with him as Heed's going to blink in. He's going to try to dash and see if he can get onto Baskin. But the trap card has been activated. The Sunder was used, so Heed's taken a lot of damage, so they're able to successfully defend this tier 2 tower on the right-hand side. But making the rotation is Snoopy. He is level 17. See if maybe he can get something. But with everybody backing away, I think he's just going to grab some buffs, make sure that everybody gets out safely. He's going to walk over a couple of wards, but they do have enough presence to start this Fire Giant. But if I'm the Herculean Hooves, I kind of just let that be for right now.
If I'm Herculean Hooves and I have this team comp, I'm grouped up 4-man, 5-man. I can expend everything on this Fire Giant if I wanted to, because I have so much burn onto it. Maybe not 19.5 minutes into the game, but 24.5 minutes into the game is when I could do that. We do have a Primal Fury. That is something to consider as something that has to be playing at the back of both teams' minds. Herculean Hooves can burn up these objectives 7% faster than the Sharks can, and the Sharks, they need to respect that with the team comp that the Herculean Hooves do have.
Yeah, they can burn down those objectives very quickly, as Oni Fury is now going to be spawning here any second. And again, we talked about it in Game 1. You can get some pressure from this Oni Fury, but it didn't really work out for the Sharks. They didn't pick that up. The Herculean Hooves did, and they didn't get the pressure that they so wanted to, but they were able to pick up the end later on, as now the Fire Giant is going to go ahead and get started up by the Sharks. 3 members here, as Bluekin is over by himself yet again, getting collapsed by 4, but is able to leap away. Meerkat is here. They've stopped the actual Fire Giant. Now Heed's going to try to throw out an ultimate. Does not connect onto anybody. So now his health is at 3/4 around. Cope Baby's going to blink onto Meerkat. Meerkat taking a little bit of damage from that soul. Not going to be able to get too much out of it. Not Gino, trying to see if he can catch anybody out of position. But look who's caught people out of position. It's going to be Mast ulting in and getting Cope Baby. Now the big boy, is going to fall to Snoopy. Meerkat's going to get drumped onto Bluegan, and Bluegan will now fall. This is exactly what the Herculean Hooves have been requesting, and I think they're going to get it. The Sunder has dropped. Baskin gets the double kill, and now this Fire Giant, even though Frenzy has not been popped yet, I think they're going to get this pretty cleanly because Spreen is here. But Meerkat's going to try to just make sure that everything stays away from this Fire Giant.
Raid bot.
But Rama! Gaijay just stole it! He just stole it with the buff. Unbelievable. The ultimate snipe coming out from Gaijay to make sure that you can't get that. That's why you pick up Rama, just to secure that ultimate.
Not like this, Herculean Hoofs, you had it in the bag, you did what you needed to do, but Gaijay just out of nowhere saying, I've been killed a couple times this game, it's not been the greatest for me, let me just do the biggest impact play I could do on Ram, and that's sniping the objective away from the team. It's only on Spreen and Gaijay, but at the very least, it's not on the members of Herculean Hoofs, and Tiburones, their skin has been saved from that team fight.
And you know what's even better, AJ, is the fact that it went on to Spreen and Gaijay, the two people that you really want to have this Fire Giant buff. So not only a complete demoralizer for the Herculean Hoofs, who now have a 1,000 gold lead, this is going to stop the bleeding now for the Sharks, just because, hey, our two biggest damage dealers now have a Fire Giant buff around them. Maybe we can start getting a little bit more of a fight, but we really haven't seen Gaijay or Spreen be super impactful. Obviously, we've seen Spreen do some crazy amounts of damage, but it really, Gaijay has just got 3,000. He's at the bottom of the player damage charts, and he's level 18, so we don't expect ADCs to start making that rotation around, but once those hunters start making their way around, it can help, but he's just been silent all game.
Yeah, I didn't want to say he was silent the entire game, because I felt it would be a bit disrespectful, but he has been on the back foot the entire game. He hasn't been able to play aggressively. He hasn't been able to do what he needs to in the laning phase.
He hasn't been normal.
He has survived it. Yes, he hasn't had a standout game, but he hasn't had a negative game. And sometimes that's all you can really play for in most situations, is just to play it as normal and hope that late game you will start to have that impact that you didn't have it during the laning phase. Mainly because your lane was the one that was fought over. But so Gaijay, this is the time where he's going to start stacking up some numbers, and it's all thanks to the fact that Herculean Hoofs switched up the draft, really. They got the Ram, and they also forced Baskin onto a god that doesn't have objective secure. They has objective burst and DPS, but not secure.
Yeah, Gaijay, that had to be really helpful for him, just to make sure that he's been down pretty much 3 levels this entire game, and he was able to get that Fire Giant just to secure it away from the Herculean Hooves. As now, it looks like the Herculean Hooves have found some bait over there in the jungle, as Heat's going to go ahead and blink in. Bluegin's going to be right behind him as Mask gets absolutely deleted by the winds of Shamash. Coat Baby's going to try to throw out his ultimate, but it looks like that he's going to get picked up by Meerkat.
The 1-for-1 trade so far. Jungler for Jungler is down, but jumping in aggressively and chasing down the rest of us, Tiburones. And look who's leading the charge. It's Heed. He's aggressive once again. Level 20, and he's leading the charge for his team. Gino, the next one to fall, thanks to Spreen picking up the kill. And 4 versus 3 on the map right now for the Sharks. They could look for any objectives if they stood, because one that's fallen down the right-hand side. That's where Snoopy's gone.
Yeah, Snoopy went over to the right-hand side to grab that Tier 2 tower, just to give a little bit more pressure on that right-hand side. The Fire Giant is about to wear off, and I can imagine, AJ, that the two carries, the mid lane and the Hunter, having that Fire Giant buff just gave them that little bit of oomph, I feel like, in that team fight, because we just saw Mask get absolutely deleted by Bluegin and Heed, but then you saw the damage that Gaijay was able to do on top of that with just one auto, and just half his health just got deleted. And I think that was really a testament to why this Fire Giant was so important.
Fire Giant definitely was a big boon for the Tiburones, because it just didn't go to the Herculean Hoofs. That's the main reason for it. Not that it went on to Gaijay and Spreen. They weren't really the driving forces of that fight. It was mainly Bluegin, Heat, and Coat Baby, although Coat Baby did fall. Fire Giant has now officially fallen off Spreen and Gaijay, so 1 minute till it spawns again. Herculean Hooves, they should feel confident about getting the next one as well, provided Meerkat can survive this onslaught of damage that is going on to him right now.
Well, so far so good. The ultimate's getting expended, but Spreen is now on a killing spree, picking up Meerkat. The rest of the squad for the Sharks were around, seeing if maybe they can help out their wonderful solo laner, but unfortunately he was the death of it. Bluegin is now getting pinged out. He's going to get stunned and takes a lot of damage, but he's going to leap out. He's going to be fine for right now with half his health still around. Some wards are being spotted out. I'm trying to see if maybe they can find anybody out of position, as the Fire Giant will be spawning in the next minute. Trying to see if maybe the Sharks can do something as they're looking for some prey, circling around, seeing if there's any sort of blood in the water. Nothing as of yet, but Coat Baby's trying to see if he can find something with some damage, but unfortunately not able to hit on the basket. It looked like he was his target.
Fire Giant just about to spawn now. Meerkat 14 seconds until he is up. Tiburones need to take advantage of this next 20 to 30 seconds power play that they've got in this 4 versus 5. And that's exactly what he wants to do as he jumps in. Bluegin, half-health jumps in as well, and in comes Cope Baby with the piercing moonlight. Down goes Bluegin. Cope Baby falls down as well. It was a great engage from them, but unfortunately the team fight just turned in favor of the Herculean Hoofs.
And Mass was able to pick up Heat, and now it's going to be on to Spreen. The tower will be able to make it fall. Baskin's able to pick up one. That is a deicide in favor of the Herculean Hooves, just as the Fire Giant spawns. And guess what? There is no Frenzy, but Fafnir is in that stance. A big course can make this fall pretty quickly because Mass having crit, and it looks like Baskin able to have some damage. Unfortunately, not going to be there just yet, but he's coming around, making sure this happens. But 4 members of the Herculean Hooves will get this Fire Giant.
A little bit surprised they didn't elect to take down a Pyromancer and maybe a Phoenix first, just so therefore they can get onto Snoopy as well, but Fire Giant's a Fire Giant, a Deicide's a Deicide, and the lead belongs firmly in the hands of Herculean Hooves. Very, very odd decision for Tiburones to dive that deep for the fight. I did say I wanted them to push on the aggressive because they were in a 5 versus 4, but diving the tier 2 tower, whilst you are that low from Bluegin, it wasn't the correct decision for me. Just force him back, force him into your trap at the Fire Giant, because you have a Sol. Sol and Guy J on this realm can decimate this Fire Giant as 2 range-based, attack-based gods. Sol on Spreen can just sustain quite well because of the Radiance passive giving him health back, percentage of missing health-wise. It just speaks to me that they misplayed that, they misread the situation, and Herculean Hooves took full advantage of it.
Yeah, the Herculean Hooves are just making sure that, again, it seemed like that they're playing reactive, and this reactive sort of playstyle that the Herculean Hooves have been really effective. And just making sure that they can keep this game going, as now Primal Fury will fall yet again to the Herculean Hooves, expanding this gold lead now to 7,000 gold, which isn't going to be too important right now, but we are starting to see people sell the starter items, start making sure everything's kind of going through. But just look at the graph, AJ. As you see, it was all Tiburones, and then all of a sudden something just happened in the water and just started collapsing as the ship is starting to sink for the Sharks. And this is an impressive showing out of the Herculean Hooves. They were the number 3 seed team coming in, and now they're taking down the number 2 seed, who have had a really impressive season.
Yeah, it's just a shame that over on the other matchup that was that forfeit. Otherwise, we could have seen this Herculean Hooves team building up this Headers team, almost an unstoppable force, meeting the immovable object of the Sturdy Artisans. But that could be a feature later on in the tournament, provided they manage to make their way through the losers bracket. Herculean Hooves steaming ahead right now, up 1 game in this best of 3, looking good value for their lead in game number 2 as well. But the engage comes here for the Sharks.
Well, Heed came blinking in, and Bluegin got sundered. Guy J already threw out his ultimate, and Cope Baby's throwing out his, hitting a lot of people, as Gino's going to jump in onto Heed and make sure that he gets eviscerated. Now Cope Baby is going to try to get the stun, but Baskin will pick him up and is on a rampage. 2 members down for the boys in blue, and looks like Matt's going to try to get on the Spring. 2 autos will do it. The Aegis comes out just in time. Bluegin will fall to Baskin. That is a double kill. Baskin going to flicker in. He's trying to see if he can get Spring. The Aegis comes out. He will not get pulled in. But this left-hand side Phoenix is now going to be the target for the Herculean Hooves. Everybody is available for them. This Fire Giant is still around their waist. Only 2 members left. Spreen and Guy J. Baskin coming in, taking an immense amount of damage off the Spreen. Spreen has to use his Zap Rate, but that will probably be it, AJ. The Titan at half health. It will not matter. The number 3 seed takes over the number 2 seed, and the Herculean Hooves are moving on.
And it looked good for them. It wasn't super luck that got them in through this set. It wasn't something that the Tiburones did badly. It was just Herculean Hooves played better. They had the right ideas, had the right drafts, and they had the right team fight plays as well. It was phenomenal performance from them and very well deserved.
Yeah, the Herculean Hooves, they've just shown themselves time and time again. Like, we were worried about them at the beginning of the season, AJ, and now, as we said earlier, they got hot at the right time. But will they keep going with the Cinderella run? We'll see. Right after this break, they're going to break down post-game.
Herculean Hoofs continue to heat up and maybe even starting to peak right at the right time. They get the 2-0 win in the first set of their Phase 1 SCC playoffs here. Mifflin joins me not only to break this one down, but to talk about all we saw here today, as that was the final game we have for you guys. And in this one, Mifflin, Baskin, you give him a chance on this Merlin, starts to run things down. I think Snoopy had another good game. And this roster that we've talked about needed a little time to heat up in Phase number 1 of the SCC. Now starting to catch fire. Maybe a bit of a barn burner of a team here.
That's a new one.
The SCC, it was new, brand new for us here on the desk. But if nothing else, Herculean Hoofs look good after their first set.
They really do, man. You said it took them a little while to warm up. I feel like they just needed a reason to warm up, and playoffs no better reason for them because they come out looking incredibly strong. And maybe a bit of an unsung hero here inside of this match. I think that Masked in particular has a great performance on this Mercury back-to-back, finding consistent engagements. Even Meerkat has been having a great game on this King Arthur, consistently finding multi-man stuns, as well as just able to facilitate so much space around these objectives. And that's why you should play King Arthur. I want to see more people doing this.
It's not important to pick and ban him, right?
No, you should do it.
There's no reason to pick or ban King Arthur.
No, I cannot abide that. You know, we're all for bits here on the desk, Dave. I know we've been having some fun today, but I feel like you just crossed the line, and I can't go over it with you.
Right, we refuse. There's some bits that we're just not having, and I guess that was one of them. Look, Basket had a great game number 1 on the Giannis, a great game 2 here on the Merlin. Interesting build path as well. Maybe not so much in the actual items, but when Vampiric Shroud as his starter item shows a little bit of flexibility there out of the mid lane. And when you pair something like that, if you're going to highlight Meerkat, look, his KDA wasn't incredible, 3, 6, and 9, but he was in the forefront of it, creating space and allowing Baskin to go 7, 1, and 8. I think you're going to be hard-pressed, Miff, to find a win in a game where the enemy Merlin is just free casting.
And he was dashing and aggressive. My man was flickering forward into the enemy Titan consistently. Almost no fear on Baskin inside of this one. He does pick up the Vampiric Shot, as you highlighted, but does eventually end up selling it. Doesn't go for any starter item, does Baskin. Very interesting build path for him. Not many people playing Merlin in that way, but not many people playing Merlin at that level either.
I'll take a quick 30,000 damage from my mid laner, please. And every time I play mid lane, I tend to go 30,000 damage.
You do.
That's what I mean. So I'll take that for myself every time I play. Don't mind if I do there on that one. Herculean Hoofs, this is a team I think you got to keep your eyes out, or you keep your eyes on, excuse me, if you're in this North American bracket. Now the Winter Dogs, and this is interesting. I wanted to talk about this earlier. It's sort of the conversation around coming into a matchup like this cold versus having a game played the day prior. For all intents and purposes, the Winter Dogs got a bye through the first round, right? The Sturdy Artisans, they had internet issues, they had to forfeit, they have a chance in the lower bracket. But Winter Dogs basically get a bye, and they got to go up against the Herculean Hoofs. Do you think that plays a role here? The Hoofs have already played a set, and the Winter Dogs haven't yet.
Does it hurt their individual chances inside of this one match? I'd say so. Coming in with cold hands doesn't feel great. You're not really warmed up. You haven't had any opportunities to play at this highest level on the playoff stage. Sure, but getting a bye never feels bad.
No,
I'm sure the Winter Dogs are just great with this one. And this way, they get a bye into the next phase as well. Even if they lose here up against the Herculean Hooves, they're still in the second round of losers.
And it's still important to remember, all 4 teams get prize money based on where they end up in the bracket. So, although a good start for the Winter Dogs, you're going to have to win your next matchup at least to increase yourself out of that 4th place spot. Winter Dogs, versus Herculean Hooves will have a little bit tomorrow for you, and then Sturdy Artisans versus the Tiburones will have for you there tomorrow as well. So then on the flip side of the coin, I think the Tiburones, it was a tough 0-2 loss up against the Herculean Hooves here today. But a chance up against the Sturdy Artisans, but Miff, that is not an easy task for the Tiburones to go up against that Sturdy Artisans team down there in the losers bracket.
It's not, but with the Sharks looking as good as they did, I mean, we got a little hint of it earlier. We said we might potentially have been getting a sneak peek at what the finals would look like on the North American side, because the Sharks have been consistently towards the top at the SCC level.
Yep.
I think certainly any team could come out ahead inside of that set, but we would be doing a disservice if we didn't say the Sharks are at least slightly favored.
I think they've got to be down there in what will be one of the first knockout matches we have here this weekend. Mifflin, I can't imagine spending another second on this desk with you here today. Just kidding, buddy. I had a great time hanging out with you.
Stick around. We don't have to end.
Yeah, we can just hang out here for the rest of the day. That's sweet. And so while I go do that, I'm going to send you guys on your way. It's a fantastic first day of the SCC Phase 1 playoffs. I appreciate everyone tuning in on behalf of myself, Mifflin, all the other casters, everyone back in production. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.